This is 40K Today. You think a new edition every few years is cool. We do a new edition every day, except Sundays. Sundays we play.
Hello and welcome to 40K Today. This is your 15-minute daily news and interview show that covers the entire hobby of Warhammer 40,000. We get competitive on the tabletop, we paint and kit bash with the best in the business, we find hobby tips, and we meet the most amazing people in our all-around awesome community. Today is Monday the 3rd of August, and on the show, we talk to Rob the Honest Wargamer, who tells us how he got started. But before we get there, we talk to Pardo of SN Battle Reports about his new digs. First up, though, we have a poll question live on our Facebook page. Let's get to it. Our 40K Today poll question for the week is just a matter of preference. With all these awesome new releases, we want to know, do you spend your time hobbying first, then playing the game, or do you prefer the tournament and gaming side over the hobbying? Let us know in your comments how you voted and what you think. Pardo runs SN Battle Reports out of Gibraltar, maybe the smallest 40K nation in the world. They also run a couple of big tournaments every year and have just completed a big overhaul of their studios. We find out how it's going and where they're at with their tournaments.
All the way from Gibraltar, Stephen Pardo. Hello there again.
Hello, Steve. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, look, it's always nice to catch up with you, mate. Let's start this chat with what's been going on in the world over the last few months and how you guys in Gibraltar have been affected by it and where you're at with it right now. So how has it affected you guys and what you're able to do at SN Battle Reports?
Well, luckily, Gibraltar wasn't hit, or it hasn't been hit with COVID as much as other neighboring countries like Spain or even UK, which is where we're part of. So even though we had the first couple of months where we did go in lockdown, we're now at the end of our lockdown. So basically, the Rock of Gibraltar has been unlocked. So we're basically back to normal, or as normal as we get nowadays.
Yeah.
So shops are now open, clubs can now open, the sports are back up and running. So it's as close as what we are normally going to get back to.
That's interesting. It's really similar here in New Zealand. We have pretty much no COVID at all in New Zealand now. So we're all back to normal. But it's interesting. You and I are watching the rest of the world go through crazy times.
It's crazy, yeah. Especially like our neighboring country, Spain, has been through a lot. It's been actually quite bad over there. So we've been really lucky.
Now, so what that's meant for you is that you're able to kind of start up again, and you can trade again, and you can play again. Before we get to that, I want to talk about this beautiful new room, this new studio that you've put together, which has obviously been some months in the making, the planning and then the making of this.
We're very, very, very proud of our new studio club, which is what it is now. So we've upgraded it to not only be a studio, but it's also a club. And this was something that we wanted to do next year because financially we weren't up to where we wanted to be, and obviously there's a lot of money that goes into it, especially for the building of it. But look, we got the chance and we went for it. Even with COVID, we just went full throttle, and it's now ready. So we're now back in the new studio, which is very exciting.
It's really beautiful too. So did you plan all of that yourself, or did you get people, architects and experts in to help figure out how it's all going to look on the inside? Or is this a Stephen Pardo and the team 100%?
No, it's actually a Stephen Pardo and the team effort. So we actually planned it all out, and it's actually looks spectacular as the way we wanted it to look. The club itself is in a 1704 army barracks from when the British actually defended the Rock of Gibraltar against the Spanish Armada. So it has a lot of history. So we're playing Warhammer inside really old war walls. So they're actually barracks. So it adds to the whole feel of playing Warhammer.
Yeah, it's amazing. So just to clarify for people who might have missed it, 1704 isn't the address or the zip code. That's 1704 is the year that this army barracks was built. That's amazing.
It's exactly that. There's a marking outside which specifically says 1704, and there's a really cool history about the club where the British actually were in a big siege for a number of years, and during those 5 or 6 years, they actually attacked once out into Spain, and the attack came exactly from where the club is now.
Wow. So there's a real genuine history to it all, which kind of allies or lines up nicely with Warhammer, the game that you're playing. So tell us what's coming up for you guys as well, because I know along with No Retreat, you have a couple of tournaments that you would normally plan during the year, which have been affected by COVID. So what have you got coming up between now and, say, the end of the year or the start of next year?
So at the moment, No Retreat is still in the plan. So No Retreat is normally end of September. The problem is we're keeping a good contact with the culture and the government of Gibraltar to see if it all goes to plan. But at the moment, it seems like everything's going ahead. The only problem we have is it's not our problem really. It goes to the players, where if they can travel or not. That's where it all boils down to. So we're again keeping good contact with the players itself. But the team have decided that if the event normally runs with 42 players, we have decided that if 30 players can still come, we'll still go ahead with No Retreat 9.
Great.
And then the Gibraltar Grand Tournament, which was held last year and is now an annual thing, got cancelled in May and is rescheduled for end of November now. Which again, everything looks like it's going ahead. So we're really looking forward to that specific grand tournament, especially with new 9th edition now.
Yeah, mate, it's a very exciting time to be involved in 40K. Now it's just a matter of places around the world being able to get back into tournaments. New Zealand can, and Gibraltar can, and I know there are some happening in other parts of the world. But it's going to be great when everyone can get back up and running again. Hey, congratulations on everything. You've done such a stunning job, and I really want to encourage people to go to your Facebook page and to your website, smbattlereports.com, and check out the work you're doing and all the battle reports that you've been able to keep going through this whole thing as well. You're pumping them out at a great rate of knots. Congratulations and great work.
Thank you very much. And the same to you. Congratulations on your ranking on the podcast. You're doing a fantastic job, and I'm a really big fan of you guys.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. People should check out the pics on our Facebook page of their new digs. It's in a word, sweet. Today's episode of 40K Today is brought to you by Frontline Gaming. Frontline Gaming is a one-stop shop for all your Warhammer hobby needs, discounted products, American-made gaming mats and terrain, and a full line of miniatures painting service and daily hobby content. And this can all be found at frontlinegaming.org. Welcome back. Rob, the Honest Wargamer, helped start live streaming events at Games Workshop and has taken his love for all things streaming to the next level. He's doing a ton of work to bring us all quality entertainment. He sits down to let us know how he got started and what his plans for the future are. Rob, the Honest Wargamer, so pumped, so personally pumped to be talking to you as an admirer of the things that you guys do. I definitely watched you at the Capital City Bloodbath last year. What great coverage of a 40K event. How are you doing, sir?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Hello to everyone at home. I'm doing really well, thanks.
And everyone, I'll just give you a heads up. This is the second time I'm making him record this because of technical difficulties. So, we're going to do our best anyway. So, Rob, tell me, you have worked for Games Workshop in the past and you were part of Warhammer Live. Is that right?
Yes. So I got hired as a video editor, but specifically as a video editor to make videos about games. I was a big Age of Sigmar, well, I still am, Age of Sigmar player, and I was doing quite well in the tournament scene, but I was also a video editor by trade. So I got hired specifically to do that job into their marketing team when it was quite small. And the first thing they asked me to do was make battle reports, as you can imagine, because everyone wants battle reports. But I spent a lot of time doing a lot of research, specifically looking at how other analog game systems, so like poker, chess, and specifically Magic the Gathering, have dealt with coverage. And I quickly moved on to wanting to do live coverage for tournaments, specifically Games Workshop tournaments. Well, not specifically those, but like Warhammer tournaments. Because
would it be fair to say that you're responsible for getting the Games Workshop started on covering live events?
Oh, that was specifically my job. Like, I did it. I actually built the entire thing ground up. Like, that was me.
I bet you there's a lot of really cool stories around that probably aren't safe for consumption. But thank you. First off, let me just say thank you for doing that, because it's one of my favorite things in the hobby, right? Sitting down and watching some event coverage. I think that's a lot of fun. So I think you've identified something that people want. Good job out of you.
I'd like to say I'm a genius, but that's not the case. It was more, it was more that I saw it was something that. So how I initially got the money for the first set of equipment, which wasn't very much, was I did a really long business proposal about how the increase of Magic the Gathering like sales. So Wizards of the Coast basically increased like 180% in 5 years, and they directly related that to their live coverage of tournaments. We're setting up their Pro Tour and doing live coverage now. I couldn't get them to sign off to doing a Pro Tour straight away. So I straight off was like, well, I can do live coverage because they hold events. So I managed to push that through. That got really good response. And then I did things like the Black Library Weekend live. And then obviously I set up Warhammer Live. And we got a whole bunch of cash for a bunch of really great equipment, which I think now all the FLG guys have got. And then we just moved on from there. I did coverage of the LVO, Adepticon, for the first run of Games Workshop events that did it, which was super fun as well, because I was also the supervisor, so I was in charge, which was a challenge as well, because I really didn't have the skill sets to do that. So it's like they'd ask someone to build an app, but they didn't do it overly well because they hired me.
Well, I mean, regardless of what anybody wants to say, I see where you are now, and you guys do some of the best, maybe I would say the best event coverage of anybody I've seen trying to do it, because it's one of those things that looks, or actually, let me say that. Let me back up. It sounds like an easy thing to do. Like, we're just going to like go record games, but there's a lot of moving parts. And I think the Honest Wargamer has the best production quality and most professional streams that I've seen at event coverage.
Oh, well, thank you for that. And we are trying hard. That's the key element. A lot of the really, we talked a little bit off air. A lot of people, some people always want a mic'd up players, but that is really boring. It just is. It just is. Like, there's a lot of downtime. Another one I would consistently see when I was at Games Workshop was, we want a dice tray. But I'm like, but you don't know what they're rolling dice for. So what does it do? Like, what does that achieve? So it's been a real learning process for me. And like I said before, that this is our 2-year anniversary of having started doing live coverage for ourselves over the past 2 years. And it's been such a learning curve in so many ways. There's so many things that we've had to learn, and like about the technical elements, but more importantly about what makes a good live stream tournament, and also how do you cover a tournament well? We talked about the fact that we do the infield reporter. So 2 years ago, we had an infield reporter, and that was just because I was like, we're covering one game, but there's loads of other games out there, and I really need to get that information and bring that back to the audience. That's something that's really, really important to me. And then
I mean, let me tell you, as somebody who watches and consumes your content, like, we all have our favorite players or our friends or somebody that we care about in the tournament, and we just want to know what's going on. Like, oh my, like, we're biting our fingernails. Is Nick Nanavati winning his game? Like I wanted to know, right? So having somebody that would be like, go and report on games, and through chat you could request to be like, hey, how is so and so doing? And you guys would go find out, and that was awesome. It was interactive, and it was great.
I think the really important part when you start talking about coverage for Warhammer is the stories. It's the stories before, it's the stories during, and it's the stories after. And if you can tie in those threads of stories, there's a new guy. He's never played before, but now he's 4-0. How did that happen? What is he running? What's going on? Like, it's a great story to go get from the field. And why you got people like Nick, out there, like, and he's a name, so you're keeping track of that. But there are so many other stories that you can go and find from those people, which is like a big part of the conversation that me and Val had before he set up the 40K Stat Center stream for the LVO. We had like a big kind of like production meeting, and he was just like, how do we tackle this problem? Because there's too many people and there's only coverage of like 2 tables. And I was like, well, you need to go and drag those stories out. You need to go find out what those stories are. A big shout out to Diffie, actually, from the Down Under Pairings. Earlier on in the year, one of the things that we wanted to integrate into our live stream which was a super technical thing, which I really didn't understand. I said 2 people talking to each other, and I was just the guy in the middle trying to make it work. What I wanted was results to come in live, and I just wanted to press a button, and I wanted to see that in the overlay. So, and I don't mean the game that we're watching. Yeah, I don't mean the game that we're watching. I'm talking about other games that are out there. And then
you're talking people who are like reporting in BCP, right? Or in Down Under Pairings, either one. And then so that you have access to information live as it's happening. I think that's really cool.
It was awesome. It was awesome. And then so Diffie put that together for us, which was great. And we put that into like a nice looking like set of tables. So when I was at CanCon early this year, we were able to go and have the tournament coverage happening. We could just press a button and we could see which factions were currently performing best just live, which was like it was really fun. It was a bit janky. Like it was our first time out with it, which is kind of a problem sometimes in the oftentimes when we get to test this stuff is when we're live in the field. It's quite hard to set up at home, if you will. But we've started to tackle that problem as well recently. But it's been just a really fun learning experience. You know, past like I said, last year we did 18 events: Australia, Sweden, Canada, America. We were all over, so it's been a really fun time. But
that's amazing.
You know, hard work.
So let's go ahead and pause it here, and then I'm going to invite you to come back for a second segment where we talk about your T-Sport initiative, which I think people are going to be really interested in. Make sure you come back tomorrow for part 2 of this interview where we talk about his T-Sports initiative. You're not going to want to miss it. Okay, folks, let's get pumped up. It's time for Model of the Day.
It's the model of the day, the model of the day, the model of the day.
Today we have a set of Salamanders Eradicators done by M. Farrington on Instagram. I expect to see a lot of these battle boys on tables across from me, and I hope they are all as beautiful as these are. With a great mix of smooth blues and greys and excellent shading and highlighting, these models are great examples of something done with some painting expertise. The piece de resistance, though, is the shoulder pads complete with free-handed flames. Man, those look great. Which I suppose is only proper for a salamander. Am I right? Okay, if you have a model that you'd like to have featured on the show, just tag it with hashtag 40K Today on Instagram and we'll come find it. These were tagged by our friends at Goonhammer, so that's how we found them. And that's it for today. A huge bout of thanks to our content producer, Alex Boehner, our social media Wonder Woman, Tanya Gates, and our technical producer, Shameless Seamus Ronan, for all their amazing hard work once again in putting the program together. If you like this show and like to help us out, we'd love it if you left us a review on iTunes or on Google Play. Those reviews help people find the show, and we're extremely grateful for every one of them. Until tomorrow, for Paul Murphy and Steve Joel, I'm John Damaris, and that's what's happening in 40K Today.